You know that cup of tea you have every morning? Well, there's a fascinating little molecule hiding in there called L-Theanine, and it's an amino acid with some really surprising potential.
Okay, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like your brain is just running a marathon with absolutely no finish line? You know the feeling, you're stressed, you can't focus, and you're just desperate for a little calm in all the chaos. Well, what if I told you part of the answer might already be sitting right there in your kitchen? So that brings us right into our first section, this constant search for calm. I mean, in this crazy, fast-paced world we live in, finding that moment of peace, but without feeling totally wiped out, that's the holy grail for so many of us, right?
And it's such a tricky balance, isn't it? Like we need to de-stress, quiet all that mental chatter, but at the same time, we've got to stay sharp and get stuff done. That sleepy, out-of-it feeling, it just doesn't work. What we're really after is this idea of alert relaxation.
And that's the perfect lead-in to our next part. So what is this potential solution I've been hinting at? Well, let's meet L-theanine. So what is this stuff? At its core, L-theanine is an amino acid. If you think back to biology class, those are just the building blocks of proteins. And it's most famously found in the leaves of the tea plant, which is exactly why that warm cup of green or black tea can feel so incredibly soothing. Okay, so it's in tea, but how does it actually work inside our brains? Let's dive into that in our next section and explore its mind-boosting benefits. All right, this is where things get really interesting. The research suggests L-theanine can help with a whole bunch of things. I mean, just think about it. Taking the edge off during a stressful meeting, maybe getting a more restful night's sleep, or even sharpening your focus for that big project. And the best part? It does all this without that drowsiness you get from so many other calming things. And here's where nature gets really clever, because tea naturally has both L-theanine and caffeine, and they are an amazing team. One study found that when you combine them, it helps people feel more alert and really zone in on demanding tasks. So essentially, the L-theanine kind of smooths out the jittery edges of the caffeine. It gives you this clean, focused energy instead. So what about its pure relaxing power? Well, one study showed that a 200 milligram dose was enough to actually reduce people's resting heart rate. And that's a really clear, physical sign that your body is shifting into a more relaxed state. But the story doesn't stop with the brain. Not at all. As we move into our next section, we'll see that beyond the mental benefits, some emerging research suggests L-theanine might also act as a kind of shield for your whole body. Now, I gotta say, the science here is still pretty new, but the first findings are super promising. For example, some studies suggest it could help beef up your immune system, maybe even helping to fight off things like the flu. There's also some evidence it could help manage those blood pressure spikes you get in stressful situations, and could even work alongside certain cancer treatments. But, and this is a big but, we definitely need more research to confirm all of this. And just to put this into perspective, look, we can't draw a straight line and say L-theanine prevents cancer. But when scientists look at people who drink tea regularly, they find some really compelling patterns. For instance, one huge study found that women who drank green tea on the regular had a significantly lower risk of developing pancreatic cancer. Again, that's a correlation, not causation, but it's a very interesting one, wouldn't you say? Okay, I know what you're thinking. But before you run out and buy a lifetime supply of this stuff, let's hit our final section, the reality check. There's some important stuff you need to know before you even think about trying it. So, for most people, drinking tea or taking a standard L-theanine supplement is totally safe. There aren't any confirmed direct side effects. But, you knew there was a but coming, right? First off, it is so important to remember that supplements are not regulated by the FDA. That means the quality can be all over the place. Also, and this is critical, if you're undergoing chemotherapy, a compound that's in green tea can actually mess with how certain drugs work. And of course, drinking way too much tea means you're getting way too much caffeine, which has its own problems. So the bottom line, the big takeaway here is always talk to your doctor before you start any new supplement, period. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, right? From brain chemistry to how it might protect your body. So let's zoom out. What's the big picture takeaway from all of this? You know, it really boils down to three main things. Number one, the promise. L-theanine offers this really cool state of alert relaxation. Number two, the synergy. Its team up with caffeine is like a superpower for getting clean, jitter-free focus. And number three, the precaution. You've got to be a smart consumer, and that means always talking to a pro before you start something new. And all of that leaves us with one final question to think about. in our crazy, high-stress, always-on world. Could this ancient compound actually be the modern solution that you've been looking for? The research is definitely pointing in a really fascinating direction. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.